Hello YouTube. Today I want to explain the numbering system for the Samsung Galaxy A series. It's actually pretty simple. The first digit in any of the names is its price and performance level, and then the second digit is the generation. So the Samsung Galaxy A70 series was their most expensive A series phone, and then the 71 is the first gen, a 72 would be a second gen, a 73 would be the third gen, so on and so forth. One super nice thing that Samsung did when they were running all of the series of phones is the 70 series was $600, the 50 series was $500, the 30 series was $400. I unfortunately don't have a 30 series to display here because the post office didn't want to deliver it to my address, so they returned it to the sender. The A20 series is $300, the A10 series is $200, and the A0 series, which I recently did a review on the A06, is $100. So $1, $2, $3, $4, $5, $600. Super nice way to price their products. Now, the A70 series has been discontinued because I guess the price was too close to their S series phones, so they got rid of that. And then just last year, they did not release a 50 series phone. For one generation, they released an A41, and it was like $450 in between these two, but I guess it didn't sell well, so they canned that one too. A couple interesting things with these generations of phones is features from the most expensive phone kind of works its way down to the cheaper ones. So the two more expensive phones that I have here, the A71 and the A52, both have OLED screens, while the cheaper models here have LCD screens. However, the newer versions of the A10 series, the A15 and the A16, have OLED screens. The A71 has better cameras than the A51, but then when they released the new generation, the A52, they put the 71's cameras in the 52, and they just rearranged them. So here the depth sensor is below the LED light, and here the depth sensor is above the LED light, but it's all the same cameras. The A52 and the A23 have the same design. If this one didn't have a sticker on it that said A52, I wouldn't be able to tell them apart, but the A52 does have better cameras than the A23. The A14 has the more modern design with the 3 camera rings like all of the new Galaxies. The top and the bottom camera on the A14 are the same as the bottom camera and the right camera on the A23. The A14 does not have an ultra wide like the A23 does, and the A23's main sensor is better than the A14. All of these phones have a fingerprint sensor on the power button, and they all have headphone jacks. Samsung has only just started removing the headphone jacks on the 6th generation, so the Galaxy A16 does not have a headphone jack, unfortunately. All of these phones, the older one all the way up to the newest one, have processors that are rated on a performance scale of B- to B. So even though the A71, when it first came out, had a higher performing processor than the 51 and the 21, the newer processor in the A23 has caught up to the 71. And a matter of fact, the A23 has the Snapdragon 695, which is also what the Motorola G84 has, which came out the following year at $220. Another interesting fact is that the 2 cameras in the Motorola have the same function as the 4 cameras on the A23. The main sensors on both of these are 50 megapixels with optical image stabilization, and the ultra-wide here also has autofocus, so it can be used as a macro camera. This top one here is an ultra-wide without autofocus, and they have a separate macro camera. And then Motorola uses the images from the 2 cameras in order to get the bokeh effect for your portrait photos, which is what the last sensor here on the A23 is for. Now, since this is a channel on saving money, you obviously don't want to spend any of these prices on any of these phones. So I, of course, bought these phones used. The A71 was $160, the A52 was $140, the A23 was $130, and the A14 was new, but since it's 2 years after its release date, the A16 is $200, the A15 is a little bit cheaper than that, and the A14 was $160. One interesting thing with the Samsung Galaxy A14 is that there are 2 different models of the A14 5G. There is the Samsung A14 6P, as in 6 Papa, and that one has a MediaTek Dimensity 700 processor, which is a pretty good processor. It's Great for a budget phone. It has 25 performance points. But if you could find the more rare Samsung A14 6B, as in 6 Bravo, that one has a Samsung Exynos 1330 processor, which has 30 performance points, which is a tiny bit better than the Snapdragon 695, which scores 29 performance points. And fun fact, the Samsung Exynos 1330 processor is more powerful than the one in the A52 and the even older processor in the A71. So if you can find the model A14 6 Bravo, that's the one to get because it is much cheaper than these models and it still receives security updates from Samsung while these older models do not. You can tell from the build quality of these phones that the Samsung Galaxy A71 is definitely a more premium of these phones. It has this really unique two-toned back, where at the bottom it's like one shade of blue, and at the top it's a slightly different shade of blue. It also just has thinner edges in general, and this one is in nicer condition because it still has the original plastic around the frame that the phone came with. Alright, that is all I have for today. Thank you so much for watching, and if you are looking for a Samsung Galaxy that is a decent phone at a really good price, look for that Samsung Galaxy model A14 6 Bravo. Have a great rest of your day or night or whatever time it is.